Well, Bjorn.
He's a legend.
He's a legend.
He's a beautiful man.
A phantom runner.
You blink and you'd miss it.
Some of the fastest times ever recorded in the United States.
Next thing you know, he was gone.
The typical hero in the track and field world.
One of the best runners in Section 2 history.
Really fast.
Here we go.
The only metaphor I can use to describe cross country is imagine a bunch of dogs at a dog park. But then all the owners leave, and it's just the dogs in there for 5 minutes by themselves. And they just fight and push and shove and bite and do all their dog stuff. That's what it's like in the middle of a cross country race. You start off fast and everything's fine, then you get into the woods and there's no one watching, and it's just elbows and pushing, and you don't even want to know the stuff that gets said.
Cross-country running is definitely a physical sport. Many may say it's not, but I mean, you're elbowing people. I've been pushed into trees before, even though that's not legal, but if you want to win, you got to fight for it.
New York State is broken up into 11 sections based on geography that compete against each other throughout the season.
Section 2 is the most competitive section in the country.
It is insanely competitive.
It's recently dominated by two big teams, Saratoga, Shenandoah.
The athletes that come out of here typically go to college to run. They get scholarships to run.
Don't quote me on this fact, but I'm pretty sure that 94% of runners that go to Section 2 actually compete in the Olympics. That's how competitive it is.
If you can't handle the pressure, then you basically are non-existent in this section. Bjorn's past is kind of a mystery to a lot of Section 2 athletes.
Bjorn was a pretty mysterious guy. He kind of kept to himself.
And during the races, he would be by himself too, I guess, because he was so far in front of everyone else.
He grew up on, I think in Amsterdam.
I heard that Bjorn started running when he was around 3 years old.
I guess when he was little, he would run around the house all the time and never get tired.
One day he was just out picking onions in his backyard, and I don't even know what occurred to him, but I think he started running, and he just kept running, and he ran almost for 2.5 hours, and he liked it. And, well, he was good. He was really good.
Bjorn trained very hard in Norway despite the hilly conditions in the mountainous ranges.
He came here from the Netherlands, 2013.
He's had to fight for a lot with coming to America.
And that's how he ended up loving running, because, you know, he had to run 15,000 miles to get all the way to America.
He came out of nowhere, really.
There was online forums talk of this new runner. No one had really heard of him. Didn't know what to expect. People are asking, let's get this kid to run, but there's no phone number or email. He doesn't have an agent or anything.
He didn't approach me. His parents said, like, Coach, you know, we hear you do the cross-country team. We've got our boy who has, like, aerobic capability that is second to none. I'm like, okay, bring him by.
We were all interested in seeing how fast he would run. There was talks that he was, like, planning to beat, like, Jay Navin, who was, like, Saratoga's #1, and, like, everyone's like, oh, this kid's a clown.
So we did what's called a time trial, just to see, like, how fast he was. And we usually do it for 2 miles for cross-country. And first time out, I'd never even seen anything like this. He ran, like, 9 flat, which was our school record. He'd never even stepped foot on our facility before. And you could just see it. It was effortless. He lapped everybody a time and a half, and the legend was born. I mean, from there, it just got more and more amazing, the things that he could put together.
That senior year when he was running, everybody was like astonished by his speed and everything.
First 100 meters of every race, he's breaking high school records.
He is the first person in Section 2 history to actually set a league record in the long jump middle of a cross-country race, which is kind of unprecedented.
They said he did tempos at 4-minute pace.
His speed rating was like, what, 270?
Well, his VO2 max was higher than anyone I've ever seen. They could relate it to something of a cheetah, but maybe even better.
He was off the charts Like literally Jack Daniels had to make a separate list for him.
He didn't start getting lactic acid until he was going probably, I want to say 3:30 mile pace, which I know sounds crazy that that's the world record. That would be a world record, but this is Bjorn Torgstein here.
Bjorn Torgstein's training is supposedly not as rigorous as one would think.
It's an unprecedented level of not actually training that got him where he was.
I never saw him stretch once.
I've heard many rumors about him taking special minerals from the mountains of Norway.
We heard things like he would drink yak's blood.
He would try to simulate the moon as much as humanly possible.
He actually did hill repeats up and down some of the Himalayas.
So, I mean, he would do things quite out of the ordinary, but his races were extraordinary because of it.
And then came that fateful dual meet that one day in October.
As much as I can remember, I like to go out on the course and watch everybody as they come through. And he got to the first point that I usually get to faster than anyone that I've ever coached.
I saw something flash by me.
Next thing I know, he's like already halfway through the course.
Came out of the woods. He was cooking. He was sub 14.
It was like light shone down from the heavens onto just him. No one else, just him.
It looked like he was gliding across the trail.
I'm not even sure his feet were touching the ground. It was like a gazelle.
He was like an antelope, so graceful.
He went 13:20, but they didn't count it because they thought it was a timing error.
I know it was like chaos with the FAT and all the officials. I was just sitting there. I was kind of like, he won. It was obvious.
But I believe that he actually did run 13:20 and at 243 speed rating.
Does anyone know where he went? 'Cause I don't.
You know, he just disappeared.
After that race, I spoke to him one other time and never heard from him again.
I don't know where he is now, you know.
I think Bjorn saw a greater purpose than to just run for college or to run for money.
It's hard to put yourself in his position, but you wouldn't want to, like, I'd say, like, flex, you know?
He appreciates like running as an art.
Running means a lot more to him than to have some monetary value.
I hope he changes his mind because he has a lot of talent that I think he's just throwing away.
Might have went back to Norway or Finland or the Baltics, wherever the heck he was from.
I believe that he's just continuing what he loves and traveling around the world, still running in different places.
It's like he was never really there in the first place.
Every day I go out there, and when I run, I think about Bjorn. Like, that's my motivation for training and running, and that's what's going to get us to beat Saratoga this year, hopefully.
I do wish that he'd become better known. I wish maybe I could meet him one day. But I don't know. Like, I don't know. Maybe one day. Maybe he'll get big. That's the hope.
I never really had a male role model growing up. But ever since I saw Bjorn, I realized that this is what I should try to be. And that's what I strive to be for the entirety of my life.
There was a herd of deer that crossed the trail right in front of him, and of course this didn't affect anybody else in the race because they were half a mile behind him, but he actually jumped over a deer, and then it was more than one. He jumped over like 5 deer, and he didn't even get hit by them. They had huge antlers, and he didn't even get impaled or anything. It was amazing, and he just hurdled them with his graceful strides, and he kept going. It didn't even faze him, and I know that was a big impact later because they were still there when the rest of the race came by.
Watch out for the deer!